a brief moment to talk a little bit about this and the budget crisis in Escondido. And Mayor Dane White, who I like. I follow Dane White on social media. He's a good guy. He's fun to follow on social media. But he's got a problem on his hands because, I mean, the budget isn't structurally sound. The budget, if you look at recurring revenues recurring expenses exceed recurring revenues. I mean, that's a recipe that doesn't work. You can get some one-time money from this fund or that fund, but you can't count on it. They've got to make some big decisions, and it's clear that the voters don't want to increase the sales tax. So now what? They may need to cut spending. So apparently the city is expected to run a deficit of as much as $23 million by the year 2036. And they've been able to close these shortfalls, with a lot of these one-time funds, like from COVID relief funds or loan repayments or tapping into the pension trust, which is probably a dangerous thing to do. So he's got a real problem on his hands to fix here. Again, the parallels here with Poway Unified are very striking. The one-time funds Escondido is used to stave off steeper cuts mean other programs that have been on the chopping block could be gone soon if the city can't fix its structural deficit. That includes several community outreach programs that target crime prevention and youth engagement that narrowly avoided being defunded by the city. So they'll always bring that up. Like, they'll scare you. Crime prevention. We won't be able to prevent crime if we don't increase taxes. Well, yeah, I mean, that should be one of the most fundamental things that a city provides is safety services. But you got to wonder, there's a lot of other things the city does that are nice to have, but not must to have. Like, for example, cuts to youth development programs run by nonprofit Escondido Compact, the Escondido Police Department, and other outreach programs have been considered over the last couple of years, but use of one-time funding sources have kept them afloat. Other community programs like Tiny Tots program, the Volunteer Escondido program, and the Kit Carson Skate Park have also been previously considered for defunding. Well, why not? I mean, why not just say, if you want to use a skate park, you got to pay to use it? That's reasonable. I mean, there's no point in taxing a grandma, who lives in Escondido, so a bunch of, teenagers can use a skate park. Maybe the people that use a skate park need to pay for the skate park, and a lot of these other things, you just have to say, we can't be everything to everybody. The city of Escondido can't solve everyone's problems. We have a limited budget. We have to prioritize. But that means they're going to have to make cuts. And if they make cuts, they're going to upset some people. And that means a lot of these politicians are at risk when the next election rolls around. Escondido has also seen a reduction in city staff by more than 140 employees since 2008. That's a 10% reduction, while the city's population has simultaneously grown by 10%. That's a good thing, though. If they're able to do more with less, that's smart. If they're able to, because your employee costs are your highest expense. If you're able to outsource that or decide that it's really not a high priority, that's where you're going to have to make the cuts, is with people. It's unfortunate, but that's how you're going to have to balance the budget. The city also cut $133,000 from the California Center for the Arts in Escondido this year, but was close to cutting $1.9 million. Now, that's another big question. Who should fund the arts? Should maybe the people that use the Performing Arts Center be the ones that pay for it? I mean, what's more important? Funding the arts or funding the parks? I think one would say that parks are a more fundamental offering that's for city government. Parks and recreation are probably, I'd say, third priority. I mean, safety is usually always one, safety being police and fire and that sort of thing. And usually number two is infrastructure, roads, sewer, water, that sort of thing. But parks and recreation is usually number three, especially the parks. Why they're funding as, nearly $2 million to the Performing Arts Center, and that is primarily used by patrons. The people that use it should pay it. And if they did, they could free up some money to take care of the park. So, Amy Sanders isn't going out having to clean them herself. But they've also been dipping into their pension reserves and borrowing there to cover this. And they already have $270 million of unfunded pension liabilities in Escondido. So our buddy Dane White, he's got some issues to face. He's got some challenges he's got to solve. I'm curious to see where this goes, but it's sad that we got someone that had to jump in and clean these restrooms herself, doing deep cleanings that take 3 to 5 hours, and God knows what she's been cleaning there. I mean, she's probably having to wear a hazmat suit to do it because it's so disgusting. But, tip of the hat to Amy Landers for doing that work. But the city of Escondido's got to figure this one out. Okay.